Welcome in. If you're catching the replay, thank you for catching the replay. I'm a couple minutes early, so I'm not going to start painting yet. I do want to just say for the people watching replay, I am speaking on TikTok live right now and YouTube live right now. So I am going back and forth. I'm going to be talking back and forth between TikTok and YouTube. It's kind of two different views. So if you would like the overhead, if you're watching on YouTube or on TikTok, you can go to YouTube. I am live there currently as well. We are going to be painting some fall themed hearts today. I'm doing it on rocks because this is rock painting 101. These designs are very simple and beginner friendly. I do have my paint pens today. For this design, you could definitely, I'm doing three designs. For all of these, you could use acrylic paints as well. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but I am officially going to be going here at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I just like to push go a little bit ahead of time so I can kind of make sure my view looks good, make sure everything's streaming well. There's like a little bit of a delay on YouTube always. So right now I still have not seen my hands on the screen, which is an issue. There, my hands just showed up on the screen. That's how big of a delay there is right now. So those of you watching over on TikTok could see that. But I am gonna wait till 2 o'clock to start the actual painting process. As you can see here, I have my rocks here, some paint pens. I do have some water. We are gonna play around with a little bit of water and a paintbrush on one of our designs today. But if you are watching live, welcome, welcome. Hello, Tammy. I'm excited to do this too. So I'm doing it on TikTok, I'm doing it on YouTube all at the same time. I found a way that I could turn on like what they call like super chat on YouTube, and I know on TikTok. So you can like, there's a way to like tip sort of, you know, like we'll see if we can make this work. It is a time commitment, but I do like doing the lives. They are fun to do. So 1:59. I like to wait until it, like the time, like when I say what time I'm going to be live, I like to not start. I don't want to jump the gun. I don't want anybody to miss any of the actual tutorial. I am going to do 2 stones of each design. I did do an itty bitty one of one of the designs. It's officially 2 o'clock, so I'll show it off. Thanks for the hearts. I appreciate that. Make sure you like the post if you're in here, and you can share this if you want to. This itty bitty, I'm not going to paint one this small live because it'd be hard for you to see. So I'm going to go this way with it first. Ooh, if I get out of there, maybe it will focus. Okay, and we'll come this way. Oops, so I'm dual duty here. So some of you might recognize the heart itself. We did Mardi Gras bead designs way earlier in the year, back during Mardi Gras. And they were so cute, but I thought this is fun. We can do this. So I'm going to do 2 combinations of colors. We're going to do candy corn colors, and then we're also going to do a red, orange, and yellow color. So if you don't vibe with the candy corn, that's fine. I love candy corn. So my doodles here are in the candy corn, but we'll do one with red instead of the white, basically. So we've got our little like op art heart. So this is kind of like a Zentangle doodle type design that once you break it down, it's very easy to do. And then this one, same, lots of cute little things. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Tammy. These are lots of little doodles you can do. So the only thing you might need is an extra fine tip paint pen. Otherwise, you could do paint pens or acrylics for the colored sections that I'm going to be doing today. Now, when it comes to the dotted design one, if you could use dotting tools and acrylic paints, or you could use even like a toothpick dabbing into acrylic paint. You could use that as well. So welcome in, welcome in. If you're watching, if you're painting along, let me know in the comments. I know Tammy's painting along over here. This is our first one post-Halloween that we have done live. So if these are successful, we get enough people hanging out and painting and enjoying the replays, I'll keep kind of doing these live tutorials. So we're going to do the op art heart on these. We're going to do the dotted ones on these because that design can be done on a slightly smaller rock. So I have smaller rocks for these, not quite this tiny, but as you can see, you can do it very tiny. And I did do large ones, and you can make the circles really big, and it's really fun too. And then I've got these ones back here. So I do have a variety. I went through all my rocks doing my 100 Halloween rocks. So I was kind of digging around in the bottoms of bins from other rocks that I have had. But everybody always tends to ask, where do I get rocks? And 90% of them now I get on Amazon. The cheapest place to get rocks is if you go find a local landscaping company. They're like the people that provide the rocks that you see in the parking lots and you're like, ooh, that's a beautiful rock to paint. They buy them from those companies. So you can too. A lot of places will let you buy like a sample size. You do have to dig. Don't go with a fresh mani. Okay, we're gonna have hearts on our rocks, and some people cannot freehand a heart, and that is totally fine. My day kind of depends. Sometimes I can get them perfect on the first try, and other times it's just kind of, I'm bumbling all along. Hello, Craft and Ranch. I just saw that one over there. The TikTok ones go away faster, so I'm gonna have to kind of gauge that. I love it on YouTube. If you really have any questions, that's a better place to ask a question just because it stays on the screen on YouTube. So if you're gonna do a heart, you can use a Post-it note. I like to fold my Post-it notes in half with the sticky side down like this, and just place it on your rock to find about where the halfway place is, and then you can draw on your Post-it note, and that way you can kind of create a heart that's gonna fill your rock as well. So you can kind of sketch a line on with a pencil as opposed to like if you're painting directly on your rock, you have to have this nice line. So you kind of just sketch it on there, and then I'm gonna kind of fold it over and just see. I think I could go maybe just a smidge bigger. And then once you kind of have the heart you want, and doing it on the Post-it note, the only reason I do that is because then I have that sticky spot that I can place on my rock, and it kind of holds it still while I sketch around the outline with my paint pen. And we've done a lot of designs. Anybody that's watched my channel knows I use Post-it notes for designs all of the time. There's so many ways that you can use them in your rock painting. There we go. So now we have our heart, okay? And then you can kind of place it down, and you can just kind of tack it in place using that little bit of Post-it note. So once you've got your heart on your rock, let me get all these extra rocks out of my way. Once your heart's on here, we are gonna just do a quick little sketch style outline. Now, the final thing so the one we're doing right now, we're gonna do this one first. So the final thing you're gonna be doing on this is gonna be a final black outline. So it's okay to outline this with black. I usually go around in a more of a sketch style motion because I'm not super worried about this being like a final outline. It's more of just a guideline, so I'm gonna be able to fill it with the colors, with my paint pen colors. Hello, Nadia. Oh, good, I'm so glad that you're enjoying some of the stuff on the channel. Yes, I've been at this a very long time. So I'm just gonna sketch this outline real quick. I just got a notification in our Facebook group that we hit 8 years for the Facebook group, and that was the first step for Rock Painting 101. I did actually establish the group when I was doing the page and stuff, so we've been at this a very long time, and social media just really changes a lot. And I mean, we had the website for the longest time, bringing in like a lot of what we were doing, because this is technically my job. I do the content creation. I mean, after the video, I'm editing this video into shorter videos, and the reels and the TikTok videos and the images, and there's a lot to it, and I love it. I love it. So things are changing, more online, more things like this that are live. So we're just gonna kind of play with it. We used to do lives a long time ago. Hello, Marjorie. So once you have your heart on your rock, okay, we are gonna divide this into 5 sections. So I'll show you again here. Now you could do yellow in the middle or white in the middle, whatever you wanna do. And then on the other one, I'm gonna do red with the orange and yellow. So maybe I'll just do that one first. So the first wavy line that I'm gonna make here, I'm trying to decide if I wanna use my pointy side or I don't think I need a really, there we go. So these are like dual tip, which is nice because you can kind of pick and choose. So the first wavy line, I didn't do this on my Post-it. That's why I like to doodle first. I would rather have it kind of bounce with that arch instead of having this like niche taken out of it, like had a little corner taken out of it. So that's why I doodle a lot of things first. So I'm just gonna follow along this line here, and then I'm gonna bounce down and back up so that it's just a wavy line section, and then I'm just gonna do the opposite, and you wanna pinch from time to time on these wavy lines. And I'm just gonna do a quick coat to fill this in. This is gonna need 2 coats, I can tell already. Some stones take paint different than other stones. If you can tell you're gonna need a second coat, don't overthink it, just get the first layer on and let it start drying. And that's why I'm opting, I use a lot of paint pens in my videos because the dry time on the videos is, it's crucial, especially when I'm live. So I need them to be drying off faster. Now the orange, yeah, I want the orange in the middle. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pinch the opposite direction everywhere that there's a wavy line. So this is waving like this, so it's gonna bulge here on this one and pinch here. So I'm just gonna pinch and come out and then pinch like that. And then I can kind of look at the space left over and say, is that too much yellow? I think I'm gonna take a little bit wider of a stance there, like that. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. I'm gonna bulge and then pinch, and then that's leaving a really big section, so I'm just gonna nudge that over like that. Okay, and then this is all gonna be orange in here. And I'm gonna get close to my red, but I don't wanna touch. I don't want them to bleed. There's gonna be a black line in between there anyways. So don't worry about getting super duper close to your color. And I'm doing these in fall colors. You can do them in whatever colors you want. I did them green, purple, and orange one year for Halloween, for our Halloween rocks, and they turned out really cute. And I had shared this design before, and I thought I can save this one for after Halloween this year, and that gives me something really fall related to do. You know, I'm still in the fall vibes. I'm not ready to move on to Christmas. I'm already seeing some really fun Christmas tutorials in our rock painting group, and I'm loving them, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready yet. I got to get through Halloween, just get a few more fall vibes in. So now I'm just going to fill in the rest of the space with the yellow, and then we'll be done color blocking this one out. And we will let this one's first layer dry. Yellow is gonna need a second coat too. So again, just get one on there. I know some people will try to like really like pulse their pen and get it going. If it's flowing well and it's not gonna cover in one coat, just get the nice layer on there. Thicker paint is never better coverage. If your paint's not covering with its, then you're just getting it cakey. I do not use a primer. Sometimes I'll base coat my rocks, but it's really designed. You could have colored in the entire heart white first. If you did a white base under the heart, that would work too. And then sometimes your color will pop with just one, but then you're still doing 2 layers. Thank you for the gift. It doesn't have a name. I see they go so fast. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm talking back and forth. I'm here. So if you're watching live on TikTok, this one up here is live on YouTube, and you can get the overhead view if you prefer that. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start a second rock here. Now you can use the same technique with your Post-it note if you want to create yourself a little shape for this. I showed that because some people really like their hearts to be perfect, and if you wanted to have it really symmetrical, I'm usually not that hard on myself. I paint a lot of rocks. They're going out into the world. People that are finding them are not judging like that. Like if somebody stumbles across this rock, they're not gonna be like, the left side's bigger than the right side. And I do also have a fair amount of experience drawing. And as I say that, I'm gonna draw the worst heart known to man, just kidding. But with this one, we're gonna do dots on here, so that crossover will be gone. So you just kind of wanna make sure that your outside edge matches. We can zhuzh this with the dots a little bit. All right, that's good enough. Okay, so just get a heart on there. It's not the prettiest heart, but it's gonna look great. The primer I don't think necessarily creates another barrier for weatherproofing. Somebody's asking if it's beneficial for it to be outside. That final clear coat or sealant that you do, you just have to make sure you do the whole 360 of the rock. Go all the way around the rock, top, back, sides. As long as you've got that on, I always do a few really thin coats so that it builds up. I don't have any issues or differences of how the rocks react based on if they have a base coat or not. Usually if I base coat, it's for design purposes only. So now we're gonna go along and start adding dots on our heart. So I always do a big dot at the tip, at the top, and the tip at the bottom. And then other than that, I'll place a few larger ones. Like if I have a mistake here, like this needs to be a bigger dot to cover up my mistake. So I'm just gonna go ahead and place a bigger dot there and kind of a medium-sized one on either side. But I'm going ahead and I'm filling them all the way in. So you can start with like little clusters of dots around, but they can get pretty tiny. The extra fine tip side of a paint pen can get a pretty small dot. Where's my mini? What did I do with my mini rock? How did I lose that? You guys, am I missing it? It's very small. Oh, there it is. Ha! It's hiding under the rock. I mean, look how tiny these dots are. And those are with extra fine tip paint pens. So you are definitely able to fill in very small dots. So I like to just play around with all different sizes, have like 2 or 3 little ones in a row, and then maybe a few that are a little bit bigger. And I tend to bounce around and then fill in the spaces between, because I'll kind of get going at one size and then work my way around. It's funny because so on TikTok, there's so many people that come in and out on lives. So welcome if you're popping in. We are painting fall themed hearts. And that's what's going on here on YouTube too. My number is going up and down. You never know. If somebody just popped in. We're gonna do 3 designs. There we go. So we're just working our way around creating those little hearts. Hey, Brenda. Welcome in. I know I'm a little earlier. I was doing 2:30 before, but 2 o'clock works better. My daughter's done with cheer, so she comes home earlier, but I wanted to stick with the same day of the week because I was in a good rhythm with doing Tuesday. And kind of I do a lot of my Monday morning stuff is a lot of back end comments and stuff and catching up. So Tuesday, I'm usually good to go to have a little bit of time to sit down and get to paint. And if I'm going to be painting these tutorials anyways, I usually was filming them anyways just to edit them. But I figure, why not paint live? People like live content. You can paint along. The edited videos do lose some of the tips and tricks that sometimes it makes the video too long for the way people like to digest video content these days, unless it's live. If it's live, you can hang out for a while. All right. So this is slightly tedious, but it's not really hard. So it's just, oh, shoot. I didn't mess it up too bad. One smudge, not too bad. But so you just keep working your way all the way around, and then we'll set that one to the side. And I'm gonna bounce between the 3 designs here. We'll kind of start all 3, and then we'll do the next step, and then we'll start the next 3. And that way for people that are kind of coming in and out, just helps with the dry time. So the 3rd design we're gonna do is on one of these bigger rocks as well. And I'm kind of curious if my heart that I had before, I think that's gonna fit on here nicely too. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use that one again. I still have that sticky spot. So when you use this, the hearts, if you use Post-it, then you have that little sticky spot. And for me, that's helpful. I like to use thinner paper because then you can kind of fold it over as well while you're working. So that works better than like sometimes if you might have like a stencil or something, but that might not lay flat. Yes, the cheer schedule's fun. I'm sad it went by really fast this year. Yes, the YouTube videos are much more sped up. You can get the gist of the design. And I always leave these live replays up on YouTube so people can come back and you can kind of find areas where I'm working on a specific design if you need more instruction or more tips. My hands are a little shaky today. Maybe a little bit too much caffeine, and the drink I put next to me is more caffeine, so I'm gonna have to drink that sparingly. But again, with this heart, so this is the start of this kind of design. Oop, this kind of design. That's upside down for you guys. And so we're gonna have a black outline when it's done. So you don't have to worry too much about like if your line is perfect. We're gonna go and crisp it up and make it nice at the very end. Like that's the final last step. So I am going to mention again, I know I'm missing a few things. I'm seeing a lot of hearts going up over here. So I appreciate the hearts over here on TikTok. If you like the rock painting, but you know, might not have time to stay for the live, follow the channel. I'll make all of these 3 will end up a TikTok where you can watch it in the whatever, 60 seconds. You can never have too much caffeine. I don't know. So for this one, we are going to break this just into a bunch of stripes. Now you can do them horizontally. This is one of these little tricks that I probably don't talk a lot in the shorter videos, but if you do it at an angle, you don't have to worry about the line being perfectly straight across. Now I am going to use my Post-it notes for this portion as well, because since I'm working on a rock, it's not perfectly flat. So trying to draw a straight line can be tricky and it's hard to kind of get in the dips. So if you take something that's squishy like this, I can kind of line up with my bottom line here. I can kind of press into my rock, and then I'm going to have a straight line that kind of follows the dips of the rocks. Like if you try to put a ruler up here, that would not work very well. And then I do a lot of different sizes of lines, so different thicknesses. So I am putting pressure all the way along this, and you'll be able to see where it needs to be pressed down harder. You'll see the gap on the rock. So this just works really good to get you that line. Now you do need to keep in mind there is a thickness to the paint pen itself. So the line is going to be slightly to the right of where your Post-it is. So just keep that in mind as well when you're picking your lines. And then I'm also going to be aware of where this point is. I kind of want my line to cross right through that. Like I don't want to have just this little bit above or a little bit below. I want it to go right through that line. So I'm going to do that one now. And see, since I can't see the tip, I know I'm not actually going to cross the tip because of the thickness of the pen. So I'm going to move it back just a smidge. Get it as straight as possible here. And again, if you're on TikTok and you want to see overhead, this is live on YouTube right now as well. Okay, just like that. And then every once in a while, I'll kind of go like this along the edge because it can stay wet and you don't want to put it down. Yes, Nadia, I have dipped my paintbrush in coffee before. I've also gone to drink brush water. That's happened. All right. Stabilize here. Got to try to make sure nothing's moving and wobbling on me here. Now for the filling on this, there's like so many different patterns and designs you can do. Like I'm going to do a variety here, but you can find like Zentangle books and stuff like that, and they'll have a bunch of things that you can do. So there we go. We just have our vertical lines, or they're not vertical, our slanted lines on our heart. Okay, now we're going to just fill those sections in with our colors. And you know what? I think I'm just going to do, I'll do the 3 in this color palette first, and then I'll do the 3 in our second color palette, because we are doing some in this color palette, the candy corn, like our little heart here. And then we're going to do some with just the fall. Some people don't like candy corn. I do. We've discussed this before. 2 bags for the whole family. When those are gone, I'm done. I'm over it. But I do enjoy some candy corn. So I'm going to just go ahead and fill these sections in. Again, I remember how I talked about before, like different kinds of rocks take paint differently. You're going to see that here with this as well, because this stone is a little bit of a different texture to it. And yes, if you wanted to fill in your heart white first, and then maybe you'd only have to use a little, you know, one coat of each color, but that's still 2 coats of paint to me, so I don't mind using my colors. I go through white fast enough as it is. White and black paint pens go pretty quick around here. So that one's orange, so I'm gonna do orange, yellow, red, orange, so I'll do it like that. And then I'm not going to try to get all the way into that point with this one because I have the dual tips, so I can flip and get in there with my extra fine tip side so I don't accidentally go over the edge. So I'm going to do that. I really like that about these pens. These are the Tule Art ones. And it's nice because they're it's the same paint inside. So like even if you've got 2 packs of pens that are the same color, but they might be different sizes. I don't know. Something about this, to me, you know it's 100% matching. So I did all of our Halloween rocks using these this year. It was very convenient. Okay, so we're also going to do this very tip part here, orange. Now with the extra fine tips, they are more of like a plastic nib. So you do want to use very light pressure when you're going directly on the rock for 2 reasons. One, to save the tip of your paint pen. You don't want to wear it down extremely fast. And then 2, it also keeps it from splattering. It couldn't possibly splatter if it hits like a divot. You might kind of get this little like splash or splatter. Yeah, okay, sorry. I have you guys really close together where the comments are, so I'm trying to look back and forth. I wish there was a way on TikTok to get rid of the message that says joined, because every once in a while I feel like if there's a comment, I miss it really fast. And now I can't see the hearts on there anymore. It used to say how many hearts you had, and I don't even see that on my screen. So, who knows? But if you are watching live here on TikTok and you'd rather see from overhead, this is on YouTube Live. And I guess same for you guys on YouTube Live if you want to see my face instead. The only reason I can't put both overhead is I only have one of these little dilly-dally things, doohickey things, whatever they're, I don't know, holder. I only got one of those. So YouTube will always have my overhead priority, and that is my favorite place to be live. I can see the comments for longer. Clean, ooh, that's awesome. Yes, you can see, hopefully maybe next week, we're gonna keep going. But thanks for popping in, Brenda. All right, so this one here would be yellow. And see, there's a little divot there. So I'm laying it slightly to its side as well. Unless I need that super, super pointy tip, I kind of hold it slightly to its side. That helps you, A, fill in your space a little faster, and B, you won't get those splatters that way as easily either. Okay. And now we're going to go in and do our red, and then we'll roll right into doing the second coat on this one. This red needed a second coat. So I think I can do these. Well, I got the, oh, I missed an area. Nobody said anything. It's a little itty bitty. That's why I was using that side anyways. Thanks for popping in, Nadia. It was nice to see you, meet you. Join again. Make sure you turn on notifications so that you know when we're going live next time. There we go. All right, there we go. Now we'll go and do our red. I'm going to use the bigger end on this. And make sure I'm in a good spot. See, like the red on this rock might only need one coat. I'm getting pretty close to my stripe lines, but I am going to go back over those again. So if you leave a little bit of a gap, it's not a huge deal. And if you go over the line a little bit, that's not a huge deal. Either way, it's going to be touched up as we are creating our designs. Because with each one of the designs, the outline of the actual section will be part of that. So we've got that side. And we'll do this one. And there we go. All right. Let's see, look how much more the rocks show through on that. It might still need a second coat over here. All right, we're gonna do the second coat on this one. Now, when you're putting a second coat on your rock, especially if you're not waiting a really long time, like you saw, I'm doing this live, so it hasn't been sitting like an hour or anything. First thing, make sure your paint pen is flowing well. Second thing, try to only hit each spot one time, laying the paint on top. So I'm just gonna kind of work my way down the shape, laying that paint on top, because that bottom layer is not 100% dry. And so when you put this paint on top of it, you can actually, like if you hit it again, it could possibly be loosened up already. So I just do one little layer right on top, like that. So we got that second layer. And then this design also is gonna have a lot of line work on it. So once it's dry and you're doing the rest of the design, even if it's not, I mean, you can sit and build up your paint as true and dark, rich colors as you want to. On some designs, it's crucial. On others, not so much. And this is one of those. Once your line work and everything's on here, a lot of that stuff is going to fade from like being noticeable. I am going to come along and do each of these colors. A little second coat action. And sometimes I will doodle it off, even though the paint seems dry. If there's any of it shedding or getting on that tip, that can kind of clog your nice flow of paint. You want a nice flow of paint coming out when you're doing, well, always, but especially when you're doing a second coat. And then we'll do our yellow. Again, just laying it right on top. Hitting each section just once. And then we are going to do our next step on our dotted design, and that one will be finished after that. That one's only a two-step process since we don't have to worry about any second coats. So there we go with that. Okay, so now for this design, we are going to just only use the extra fine tip sides of our paint pens. If you don't have paint pens, you can do this with acrylic paint and a toothpick or dotting tools. We have dotting tools in our shop too, but toothpick works really well. Or even if you want a little bit bigger of a dot, the end of a bobby pin, it has that little bit of like wax at the tip, just that little spot. And that makes a really like good dot size, just a slightly bigger than the toothpick size. So I'm just gonna start dotting around on my rock. So extra fine tip side, again, make sure your paint's flowing well. You wanna be able to leave dots. You don't wanna have to wiggle and make circles. So if I'm making a bigger dot, I'll dot, dot, dot kind of in the same spot, and it will kind of get a little bit bigger instead of like wiggling on top of the black paint. So I'm just gonna pick a random dot here and fill in. I'll start with one of the bigger ones. So kind of just dot, dot, dot in the same spot. And then I'm just gonna skip over. I'll do like 1, 2 in a row. It doesn't fill to the outline, dot, dot, dot a few times. And I just kind of go around and I place quite a few of one color. I try to pick a couple bigger dots to do in each one of the colors first. But we're just putting these little dots in. I'll bring it a little closer for you when I'm done with the yellow. So just kind of, you can do them next to each other. You can space them out a bit. Just make sure you get a good amount of the larger dots. Now this one's really big, so I am gonna have to kind of stretch that circle out a little bit, but I'm still kind of using a dabbing motion instead of a swirling motion. I think that that places the paint better for this design. So I'm gonna bring that up close for you here. I'll show both screens. So now you've got some scattered yellow ones around. Now this one I did in order, like candy corn order, but so they can be sporadic or in a pattern. You could have done like orange or yellow, orange, red, like that. So there we go. I think I have to get out of the background so it focuses. And then we're just gonna come in with our next color and repeat that process. There we go. I'm just gonna come through here. I'm gonna find a bigger dot to fill in here. Because this one has 3 bigger ones. I wanna make sure that's like one of each. So as you start filling in, you'll kind of start making a little bit of a plan in your mind, maybe. Like, okay, I'm saving that spot for red because now I'm placing my second color down. So as you're filling them in, you can make sure you're saving some good spots for the color red to be in. You want to make sure you're saving some little ones for the red one and some big ones for the red one. I try not to overthink it too much. And then you'll often come back in maybe one final time, like when you're coming in with the red, you might be like, okay, you could just fill in all the rest of them red from this point, but as you're filling them in, you might say, it's gonna be 3 in a row, or, you know, it's left over. So that's with our orange. And I talked about this when we were first getting started, but we did one like this during Mardi Gras, and it was gold, green, purple, and it looked so cute. And then we did it in pinks and stuff for Valentine's Day. My daughter used this design to make Valentine rocks for her classmates one year. So this is just very beginner friendly. When all the dots are down in just black, it does look kind of sloppy, and even when it's not filled in all the way, it looks a little sloppy, but you're gonna see just how it comes together here. Remember, this rock face planted, so it got a couple little smear spots. Let's see, I think I'm gonna need a yellow over here. That's gotta be yellow. Let's do red, red. It's hard to talk when I'm trying to be very precise after too much caffeine. All right, that filled in nicely. I've got one spot that was gonna be too much. I needed a little more yellow on this side, so I'm gonna go in real quick because I want you to see it all together. Let me bring it close. There we go. Oh, it's so cute. Just looks like a little beaded necklace. And once all the black dots are filled, it just really looks cute. And I cannot get this to focus for you guys here. Why is it? I don't know. I'm not sure why it's not focusing very well, but there we go. Oh my gosh. That's what I did the first time when it was just black dots. Okay. Well, luckily the paint dries fast. Paint pens dry fast. They are a blessing for that. So there we go. All right. I am going to outline my other 2 hearts quickly because they're going to need some dry time. So let's get our hearts on our rock. We're just gonna use our Post-it on these again. Same one. That sticky spot will work for multiple rocks. I mean, it's not like you're using a lot of pressure on it. So get it on your rock where you want it. And we'll get these traced on here. These dual tips are extra fine tip and medium tip. And then my Posca is extra fine tip. I did find that I do like the dual tips, but for the black, nothing's beating this one for me. I like a brand new. It's just, I felt like sometimes the paint was coming out a little fast on my dual tips on my black, so I couldn't get quite as crisp of a line all the time. And I buy these ones in the 3-packs. I have the 3-pack in the shop because by far, I still have some of the original paint pens I bought in a multi-pack. And we're talking now almost, well, I bought the pens first, so probably 8 years ago. And some of them, just colors I just don't use a lot, still work. I have probably gone through, I don't know, I could be exaggerating, but I would say at least 20 of the extra fine tip black over the years. And I use them in a rotation. I always have a crisp brand new one that I can use, and then I've got one that's worn down a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more, because they do wear down. I mean, we're literally painting on rocks, so that's gonna happen. There's not any way around it. But now see how this rock, it's not gonna lay, like it's not flat. That's why having the Post-it kind of is helpful, because I can kind of smear it down. I can't tell if I want it this way. No, this way. I always try to anticipate, like if somebody was going to set this like on a shelf, like how would they stand it up? How would they lean it? And this way looks nicer to me. So that's the way we're going with. I think I finally hit the end of my sticky. Also putting a sticky note on a dusty rock probably fills in the sticky area a little bit. Again, it's okay to have this be more of a sketchy line because we're going to reline the entire thing when we're done. We're going to be filling this whole thing in with color as well. It's just to give us our basic shape. Onto our rug. You can freehand this. That probably would have been faster. But it will look nice when I take pictures when they're all kind of similar in size. All right, those are on there. Let's draw. We're going to freehand this one. And then I'll sit this way. This rock is really cool looking. It is kind of lumpy, so this should be interesting. But I'm kind of glad I'm doing the design I'm doing on this one because it's kind of airy. So it's going to allow the natural, like, beautiful part of this rock to show through. What did I do there? Let's see here. I'm tilted, that's why. Okay. Okay. So on these, now we're just going to go through and add on dots. And I was just talking about how I always have a secondary paint pen around. I'm actually going to change because, see the difference? Could you see that on the paper? So this is my new one, and this is this one. It's a big difference. You can't really see that over there. I'm not going to lift up the paper. I promise it's a big difference. Look at the tips. Can you see that? So over time they wear down. It's just going to happen. But that's why I keep on rotation now. So I'm just doing dots. I don't need them to be super tiny on this design. I'm just going to do it with my bigger paint pen. This will actually make it easier because I can almost stamp some of these. It's not as hard to get the bigger ones. So again, I like to just kind of start in one area, fill in a little strip, bounce over someplace else, fill in another strip. All over the place. Do a few little itty bitties in a row. You can have some big ones. There's really no rule to this. Don't really have a rhyme or reason. Is just cover the entire outline with your dots. I'm sure you could get very specific if you wanted to about this. But I paint kindness rocks and I do quite a few of them. So I try to keep these, and that's what the whole entire point of my channel is to keep these to where you can essentially sit down and paint, you know, a handful of rocks in an hour. You know, you can do them by yourself. You can do them with your kids. I started rock painting with my kids. My daughter was 4 when I began. There we go. All right, that's done, so I can set this to the side. And I know it looks so sloppy. Look at the difference. Look at that. See, it looks so blah like this, but look, when those little dots are just so cute. All right, let's get going on it. Let's see. I don't know if these are dry enough yet. We're going to be drawing right on top. I think I can do this one. Yeah, we're going to go for it. All right, so for this first design, you guys, I'm undecisive. If you have never watched me live, I get undecisive because I go back and forth. I'm changing my mind. I got to get the base coat on these because I have to do a second coat on these. So we're going to go ahead and do these. We're doing the second 3 in candy corn colors. Instead of using the red, we're going to pull in the white. So if you're, you know, want to keep things in order, you can. And so the candy corn is white, orange, yellow, or you could do yellow, orange, white. But you're going to want to pick to have either orange in the center or white in the center of your design. And I know this color is definitely going to need a second coat on this one. So I'm glad we're putting this on now. So we're going to start and just follow our heart shape on this first section to dip down. And then we're going to kind of curl back up a little bit. And then we're going to match that on the opposite side in the opposite, well, let me start that over. We're going to do the reflection of that across from it. So it's going to pinch in the center. Like anywhere it arches in, we're going to arch in towards it. And then anywhere where it arches out, we're going to arch away from it like that. And then fill. And then we're going to do opposite on our next color. So the next color on here would be orange. Okay, so this time we're gonna, so you pinch together anywhere you can pinch together. So we're gonna work back towards it there. And then when it bulges, you're gonna bulge away from it. And then we'll pinch back in. And now we have one section left. So once you've got your line down, you can decide that's a lot of yellow. So if you want to come back and you can widen the pinch a little bit, but you do want to follow that same curve, you can just adjust where it's at, just so you get a little bit more balance in your design. And I am going to try not to touch that white because it's very wet. Came out nice. So we're going to go close, but not touch because I don't want to have to worry about cleaning off the tip of my pen right now. Here we go. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So this is like literally just a bulge. It's pinching basically at the tip here and here. So we're just going to kind of go opposite that shape, leave enough space for your yellow above it, and then fill in. There we go. And that's going to need a second coat, so don't worry about it. Like if you can see streak lines, it's fine. And then we're going to do the yellow on the rest here. Okay. Let's see here. If you're watching live on TikTok right now, hit a heart. I can't see my heart counter. Usually I have a heart counter over here. If you're watching live on YouTube right now, if you haven't yet, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. It's like before, you used to be able to see, like as hearts were being left, like how many hearts had been left. And I can't see that right now, unless it's really only 18. Usually it's higher than that, but I'm not really sure. Maybe it is only 18 right now. So we're just gonna fill in this last section with our yellow. Again, I'm going to get close to that orange. I'm not worried about touching it. There is going to be a black line in between these colors anyways, so I'm not worried too much about getting too close. And I'm also not too worried if I actually get a little bit on the outline, because we're going to re-outline this when we're done as well. Okay, and then we'll do our stripes on here. Now on this one, I used a Post-it note to make them like super nice and even. On the second one, I'm not going to use that. I like to share techniques that if some people really want to have things nice and even, and that's perfectly fine. I usually don't mind that much. So I'm just going to go ahead and freehand these lines on here. I am trying to follow the slant of the bottom side of the heart for my lines going up. So for these, you can have them thick, thin. It's just, this is a really arched rock, so I'm just gonna try to pull them all in one solid. Something that I do when I'm trying to draw straight lines is I try to look, like once you get the line rolling, kind of look towards where you're going. It kind of can help. I am going to try to cross right through this intersection here so that whatever stripe this is, it doesn't have a like bite taken out of it. And it doesn't matter how many stripes you do.